person trying to hold it in right now. The support's been overwhelming.
Tickets for Nashville this week are nearly sold out. We are calling this the Bryson effect.
Won the Saudi Open on the Asian Tour in April, and he won the International Series event in Macau in March, beating David Puig in a playoff. Here's a man with 9 career wins, 3 of them on the DP World Tour. 33 years of age from Sacramento, and he is making the most of his chance.
Remember, John Catlin playing as a reserve for Charles Howell III, who's injured. If he were to go on to win this, he gets those points. That would move him right at the top 24 number. Move him at 20th currently.
Yeah, another beautiful shot. These guys make this look so easy.
Having a day. The Englishman 6 under par. He shares the lead with Abraham Answer for the time being, at least. Now this is Abraham Answer to stay at 7 under and in all likelihood have the overnight lead, and that is wonderfully done. Abe Answer with a 64.
This is what Live Golf's about, man. I had a vision of this 2-3 years ago, seeing what the potential could be, and this is just the start. I mean, with how much support we have out here, and it's just the start, that's a testament to what Live Golf is and what the Crushers are doing, what our team's doing, and what we're trying to do for Nashville and places all across the globe. So super excited for the future of Live.
Welcome into Game Time Decisions over here on SportsGrid. I'm Joe Madden, and I'm joined today by George Kurtz. We've got a doubleheader. It's Monday Night Football. We're going to be going through these games, breaking them down, coming at you with our bets and our prop bets in these matchups. We're also going to look at the action out there on the ice tonight. George, we have a fully loaded day. Firstly, how's the day treated you so far?
So far, so good. As we talked up, pre-show. Beautiful day here in New York. Kind of wish Game 1 of the World Series was tonight in New York. It's a beautiful day for baseball here, but we'll have to wait for Friday for that. It's my kind of year, Joe, or my time of year. We got baseball, we got hockey, we got football. You know, I'm going to enjoy this for the next 10 days or so, 2 weeks before baseball goes away here. So enjoying it. You mentioned 2 football games tonight, and I got to tell you, I think it's only a matter of time until we get 2 football games on most Monday nights. I think that's what's trending here, where the NFL is going to have 2. I think the NFL wants to get as many standalone games as they possibly can. And even though these Monday night games technically aren't standalone, they sort of are, right? Because you can watch, everybody has 2 devices. You can watch both games here. I think that's where the NFL is trending to, where they want to do this. And we have 2 interesting games tonight. I expect a high-scoring first game and a 180, a lower scoring, a dull game in the nightcap.
I'm really hoping the way that you're looking at these games is how it plays out, George. Let's jump into that first game. The Baltimore Ravens taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the Ravens are coming in as the favorite. That spread has moved. We were seeing 3.5s earlier in the day. I'm seeing 4.5s currently over on FanDuel, and we're seeing a total of 50.5. You're looking for an explosion in this one, George. Is the 50.5 getting too high, though?
I think it is, because a lot of times when we think the game's going to be high scoring, we don't quite get there. And, hey, it is Monday Night Football. And no matter what you think about it, players take this seriously, right? Because they know everyone's watching them. What I'm trying to say is I wonder if Baker Mayfield and company, it's not a spot they're in a lot. But they got the primetime game, right? The number 1 game here. So I wonder if they I don't want to say going to split the bit, but not maybe be up to their best. Because Baker Mayfield, I know we're all talking about Jared Goff and how he might be the leader for MVP. Baker's right there with him. He's played fantastic. But I'm curious to see how he plays tonight. But that being said, Baltimore, very good against the run, not good against the pass. And if they're scoring points, I think Mayfield's going to put this ball up a lot tonight. So it's going to be hard for me I'm not taking the under, all right? I'm either going to leave it alone or I'm taking the over. I'm getting 105 here. You mentioned 50.5 here. So I wish I would have got it earlier. It was 49.5. The extra point is hurting me a little bit here. But I just think I can't see Baltimore not scoring at least 24. All right, I think that's their low point. They get to 27-30, we get our over here, and I just don't know how Tampa Bay is going to stop that threat of Lamar Jackson passing the ball and Derrick Henry running the ball.
Yeah, you bring it up. Lamar Jackson, his ability to get things moving on the ground and with his arm has been absolutely fantastic out there, George. So I'm looking in this one for Lamar to come out strong. He does have a passing and rushing prop of 290.5. Is that something you'd be interested in, looking at Lamar to be able to have a big day both with his legs and his arm?
I think generally when I do bet Lamar, I very rarely take just his passing prop. So either I'm doing what you just mentioned here, putting them both together, or I'm just taking the rushing prop. That's generally how I approach Lamar here. I do expect him to have a big game tonight. The addition of Derrick Henry has been fantastic, right? Because teams sort of have to you got to make a decision. Are you going to stack the box to stop Henry? If not, you're going to lay off. And do you want to die by the gun or the knife? I think most teams are going to try. The funny thing is, I think most teams are trying to stop Henry because they don't think Lamar can beat them over the top. Not with Zay Flowers, Bateman, and the likes of that wide receiver there. So they're trying to stop Henry, and that still isn't working here. But Henry's putting them in a lot of favorable situations, second and short here, which is fantastic as far as game script goes. I think Lamar is going to get that total. So yes, I am. I'm on his rushing total already, and I think I am going to double down here and take the passing plus the rushing total as well.
Okay, I like where you're going with that. I also altered his rushing numbers. You can take him for 70 plus. That's coming in at almost 2-1 to your money, George. So that's something else I looked at. You mentioned Derrick Henry, and you mentioned the fact that he's just unstoppable out there on the field. The books are looking at Derrick Henry as being unstoppable. It's basically 2-1 to your money for you to take him for that anytime touchdown. So to get value, you really have to look at him for more than one touchdown out there. His prop coming in tonight at 85.5 rushing yards. Do you think that is a prop that you could hit to the over?
Yeah, you mentioned anytime touchdown. That's crazy. All right. You're even taking multiple touchdowns, as you mentioned, or maybe you parlay that. Or first touchdown. Maybe you want to go that direction. I think he's going to get the first touchdown of the game, which is something that I'm kind of interested in. For him to get the first touchdown of the game, I kind of like that more than just a solo touchdown alone, only because you get a better price there. I said, you could parlay it. Maybe you want to parlay that with a Mike Evans touchdown tonight, who I think is getting in the end zone as well. All right. So that's a place you could go look there. Henry's been fantastic. All right. He's been a great signing for this $9 million a year. And I think he would have done this for any offense, but like I said, defenses have to make that decision. Are you going to bring those safeties in? Which allows the passing game to get over the top because you're worried about stopping Derrick Henry. And even when you bring the safeties in, doesn't mean you're going to tackle the man, right? Because he's such a hard guy to bring down. And yeah, I do think he's got a chip on his shoulder trying to show it to everybody else that he still has something left. That he still is King Henry. So he's been fantastic this season. It's a high prop though. Let's not kid ourselves here. That's a high number to get here. But do I think he gets it? Until he doesn't, yeah, I think it's not like Tampa Bay is a lockdown defense, and they're beat up on defense, right? So that's another way to look at this. Yeah, I think he does.
I think he gets it too as well, George. Let's talk some Baker Mayfield props here. We look at him for his passing yards, that number coming in at 254.5 to the over under at -110. He does have a passing touchdown prop, which I like. You talked about the fact that the secondary here of the Baltimore Ravens can be exploited. His over 1.5 passing touchdowns coming in at -114. Now, if you think Baker is going to use his legs out there, he does have a prop of 12.5 rushing yards. So far different from what everyone's expecting out of Lamar, but we know Baker with his arm is his strength. And then that interception prop. Now, interceptions have been running wild over yesterday's games. The anytime interception here for Baker Mayfield, so juiced at -146. But out of all of those props, George, what could you see cashing in this one for us?
And I do love interception props, by the way, but -146, I'm not doing it. All right, but it's a prop I like to play, only because you can get lucky, at the end of a half, a Hail Mary, at the end of the game, where you got to take chances. If it's behind, you can get one there. And besides a tip ball, we saw it last night, right? Rodgers threw one because it bounced off Garrett Wilson's chest. Hit him right here. And he still, people blame Rodgers for that. Not his fault. That ball has to be caught there. So it's something to keep an eye on here. The props I'm on tonight, I mentioned Evans anytime touchdown. Henry first touchdown of the game I'm going for. I think Mayfield gets over 254. I'm looking at his numbers here. He's there about every other game, which is kind of funny. If you believe in that, he's not going to hit it this game because this will be the off game. But I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball. And I'm not on any running back props for Tampa Bay. Remember what Todd Bowles said earlier in the week, the head coach? That he's going to go with the hot hand. Boy, if you're a fantasy player, if you're a bettor, this is the last thing you want to hear. Is it going to be Rashad White? Is it going to be Tucker? Is it going to be this guy? Is it going to be Irving? What's going to happen here? So no, I don't like that. I have to believe, though. Now, touchdowns can be finicky, but I have to believe Mayfield throws for at least 2. So I'll take that one as well. So I think this is going to be a decently high-scoring game. This thing has this feeling of minimum 27-20, 27-21. That's 6 touchdowns right there, 3 for each team. And I think that's minimum. This wouldn't shock me. It's 31-24, 34-27, somewhere around there. I think we get our over here. I think we're getting points.
I like where you're going. Do you think we could get any defensive points on the board tonight, George? We saw it yesterday. We saw the Minnesota Vikings come in, get that defensive touchdown. The Washington Commanders get that defensive touchdown. If you're looking for those interceptions with Mayfield's prop so highly juiced, could we see here the Ravens get that defensive touchdown on the board? Because that's going to be like 8-1 to our money.
You could, but when I'm thinking defense, this is something we don't talk about enough. I love tackles plus assist props. All right, because generally they give you a pretty decent number here. We can get over that. So maybe you want Roquan Smith, right? Could get a sack here. So that's what I'm going to look at: tackle plus assist props.
Okay, I love it. You guys, we'll be talking about the Chargers and the Cardinals in just a minute, just coming up against a break here. So don't go anywhere, George, and I'll be back in just a couple of seconds.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Game Time Decisions over on the grid. I'm Joe Madden, joined by George Kurtz. We're breaking down tonight's Monday night football games. And yes, we have a doubleheader tonight. So, George, we jumped into the Baltimore Ravens game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I just quickly did want to touch on those wide receiver props before we jump into the later game kicking off between the Chargers and the Cardinals. So looking at the wide receivers tonight, where do you have the most faith? We've got Chris Godwin here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming out with really strong numbers. His receiving yards at 74.5. It seems slightly light to me for him with how we know the Bucs are going to approach this game with Baker Mayfield really moving the ball down the field with his arm. And if we're thinking a higher scoring game, is Is Chris Godwin a player that you could look for to go over those receiving yards or his receptions? He's got a number of 6.5 receptions, the over at -120 and the under coming in at -108. I'm a little nervous with that reception prop. I like players sitting closer to that 5, but I want to get your take on that as well as the longest reception here coming in at 22.5 for Chris Godwin. Can he go over that number, George?
Can he? Sure, of course he can. I'm not betting that. I think if the longest reception prop would go to Mike Evans. All right, that's who they take the longer shots one. Godwin's usually a guy where if he's going to get that, it's because it's a catch and run, right? A little yak, which, like I said, he certainly can do it. And I can't say this enough. Assuming Bowles doesn't try and be cute, or the OC doesn't try and be cute there, let's say we can fool them. We'll run the ball all night tonight. They won't be expecting that, which I always think is kind of silly. Baltimore has issues against the pass. All right, I'm not saying you got to drop back 60 times and throw the football, but I expect that's what they're going to do. Baker Mayfield is hot. You've got two fantastic wide receivers in Evans and Godwin here. That's where we should be looking here. But you said it. 6.5 is a lot for Godwin. Looking at his numbers here, 8, 7, 6, 6, 5, 11. So you can't go under. I mean, he's hit this number, or he's either hit the number or just the hook short 5 or 6 times. So you can't go under here because once again, the game script I think is going to be pass the ball here. So I do lean towards the over, but I probably like the yardage total more. I think that's the way I would hit it because yardage totals, I don't care how many balls he catches, just got to catch one big one here. So I'm going to go the yardage prop for Godwin. I am not touching any Baltimore wide receiver. You give me all the Derrick Henry you want, Joe. I'll take all that. Yeah. But I don't. Listen, Zay Flowers sometimes is great. Sometimes they don't use him. You just don't know what kind of game that's going to be. So I like Zay, but he's not quite in the realm of a Godwin Evans. And the offense isn't the same either. And let's face it, we all love Lamar Jackson, but this downfield throwing can be a little iffy from game to game here. So, no, we'll stay away from that here. But I love Evans. Like I said, I'll take him for the longest reception tonight. Love him to get a touchdown tonight because he's a red zone guy. Right? He's a major red zone guy for Tampa Bay. And Mayfield, he has eyes for him. He's looking for him here. So those will be my two big plays of the wide receivers tonight. Godwin, give me that reception prop. Smaller play. Evans, though, longest reception and a touchdown.
Okay, I love where you're going there. And anyone looking at Godwin for that anytime touchdown, it is coming in right now at +165. If you did want to look at Zay Flower props, he's coming in with a number of 63.5 receiving yards. But George, I'm with you. I don't think he gets a lot of targets tonight when you have Derrick Henry and Lamar out there on the field. This team trying to keep time of possession and keep Baker Mayfield off the field because they know that he can absolutely do damage with his arm out there. But we have another game, 9 p.m. Eastern. You know I'm excited for this one. I'm a Chargers fan, and they're in Arizona tonight to take on the Cardinals. Now the Chargers coming in as a favorite, -120 straight up on the money line. Current odds on FanDuel right now. We do have +102 for the Cards to pull it off, and that spread sitting at 1.5. Now, as for this total is low, George, 44.5. You had mentioned at the top of the show that you were looking for a lower scoring game in this one tonight, but how low does this one go?
Well, I think this game's going to be a 180 of the earlier game. All right. It's not going to be wide open. So I don't expect it to be wide open for a couple of reasons. One, one of my favorite sayings here, which, by the way, Craig Mish would really, he'd be shaking his head right now if I was with him, is that, well, how can you tell a coach is lying when his lips move? But guess what? Harbaugh didn't lie to us. He hasn't lied to us. He told us flat out there before the season started. He's going to draft linemen, get the big boys up front here, and we're going to run the football. And that's exactly what he's done. And I think that continues tonight. And I bring that up because when you run the football, you kill clock. You kill clock. He wants to win time of possession 35-25, 38-22. He wants to control the ball for that much, and he wants to force the other team to make mistakes because they get impatient. But when you're killing clock, you don't have as many possessions here. You don't have as many chances to score. Like I said, I think the other game could be 31-27. I think this game could be 21-17. Solid. It's not going to be 10-7, but I just don't think major points are going to be scored in this game. And I love the fact that it went up to 44.5 earlier today. Love that. Yeah. So I'm on the under in this game. Like I said, lower scoring game here. It's a solid football game, but more of a defensive battle. But I'm also the first person to tell you, I have no idea what Arizona is going to do. All right. They're a helter-skelter team, right? Jekyll and Hyde, whatever. Jekyll and Hyde. 1 week they're good. 1 week they don't even bother. Last week was the don't even bother game. Maybe they do show up this week, but I just don't trust that team.
One thing that we have seen with the Arizona Cardinals is those struggles in the first half of the games, George. We've seen them be able to come back in the second halves and be able to get something done. So I was looking at a couple of different things for the Chargers. Their team total in the first half coming in at 10.5. It seems like a light total for them. And then straight up on the money line at -118. We know the Chargers are a team that have almost given away games in the second half. No lead ever seems to be safe for this team. So do you think that would be one way to approach this game, or do you have a straight up winner for us in this one?
I think it's going to be a close game. All right, I do. It's in the desert. If this was, if they were playing this game in LA, I know the Chargers don't have a big home field advantage, but not like Arizona would travel well. I'd be on the Chargers here. But you're going to give me plus money, and right now I got plus 102. So I get 2 cents higher than what we have there. I'll take the Cardinals. But once again, it's because I'm getting plus money, and I'll take it. And it won't be a big bet. All right, I don't feel great about this at all. And as much as I like my parlays, I'm not parlaying this game because I don't trust either team here. All right, I think it's tough to find a parlay tonight. If you want to include the hockey game, one other game we have going tonight, it's tough to find a parlay for me tonight. So I'll take the Cardinals because I'm getting plus money, not because I feel great about it.
Okay, I like where you're going with that with the Cardinals, except for the fact that you're going against my Chargers in this matchup. I think it's going to be interesting. I think we're going to have some great positions to jump in on some prop bets. So, George, after the commercial break here, let's break down some of these prop bets, what we're looking at for these quarterbacks as well as running backs and wide receivers, and who's going to get in the end zone. We'll be back in just a moment here on the grid.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Game Time Decisions over here on SportsGrid. I'm Joe Madden, joined by George Kurtz. Let's talk some baseball and some hockey here, George. George, firstly, as a Yankees fan, what does it mean to you that the Yankees are in the World Series here with the Dodgers? Now, action isn't kicking off till Friday. Are you sitting on the edge of your seat waiting for this to start?
Am I sitting on the edge of my seat? No, because there's always other things, right? We have football tonight, hockey tomorrow, so I generally can wait. I'll be all right. As for what it means, I don't want to sound sappy or anything like that, but anybody who knows me knows my father and I didn't get along well in life. But the one thing we got along with was the Yankees. And I grew up in the 70s. And once again, the Yankees and Dodgers played 3 World Series in 5 years, 77, 78, and 81. In 77, I was 8 years old. My father taught me how to keep score, how to box score a game. And then back then, by the way, we used a loose leaf paper, ruler and pencil, box score of the game. So it's one of my fondest memories. Yes, I was there. I watched the game of Reggie Jackson hit 3 home runs against the Dodgers. Greg Nettles making all those great plays. I've said it many times. One of the saddest days of my childhood was Thurman Munson passing away. My father passed away in 92 before the Yankees became great again in 92. Derek Jeter, Tino Martinez, Paul O'Neill, and those guys. So when it definitely brought back some memories, some emotions when the Dodgers won last night to realize the Yankees are playing with Dodgers again. That I said it does bring it back, old memories, which I think we all have something that triggers that. For me, it's the baseball. The only thing my father and I ever agreed upon, baseball and the Yankees. So yes, it did bring back memories here, and I'm looking forward to Friday night.
Those are definitely beautiful memories, George, something that you can cherish. Now, when we look at this first game kicking off on Friday, we do have the Dodgers coming in as the favorite at -130. The Yankees will be starting Garrett Cole, still yet to announce who will be starting for the Dodgers. This total is 8.5, and we know how explosive these two teams can be offensively. If you're looking at the first game here, who do you think has the upper hand when we still don't know who's pitching here for the Dodgers? Just first looks, George.
Yeah, I think we need to be careful here because the Dodgers could go any one of a number of ways, right? I think they might think of this more strategic, okay? Whoever's ever pitching game 1 might also have to go game 4 or game 5, depending on how it works out here. So we'll see how this is going to work out. I think it's going to be Yamamoto. That's be my guess here. Flaherty would be a guess as well. He could be him. I don't think it'll be Walker Buehler, although someone reported today that they do think it'll be Walker Buehler. But that just lets you know how crazy this is with the Dodgers. They go any one of those 3 guys. Yeah. I do think the Dodgers will win the series. All right, and I placed a bet on them to win it in 6 for what it's worth. Mainly because the Yankees, listen, they beat Kansas City. You beat Cleveland. And this is nothing against those 2 teams, but the Yankees should have beaten Kansas City, and they should have beaten Cleveland. They're better than them. But I'm also the first person to tell you, if you watch those games, the Yankees played ugly baseball. A lot of errors, a lot of base running mistakes. I mean, it was like, oh, my God, how many times can Rizzo or whoever, or Birdie screw up a play at first base? I think Rizzo made what could have been 4 errors in the series. They don't call errors anymore. But it was just bad. How many times can you get thrown out on the bases? You can get away with that against the Royals and the Guardians. You do that against the Dodgers, you're going to get your brains beat in. All right, so you can't afford that. Cole is not Cole. All right, that injury he has, he's lost a couple of miles an hour with his fastball. He has to pitch more than throw, which is capable of doing, but not as easy. So I think the Dodgers will win it in 6. I think they'll win it. 5 wouldn't shock me either here. I don't think it's going to go 7 here. As for game 1, I'm not touching it until I find out who's pitching for the Dodgers here. Then I'll have a much more interest here. But I imagine game 1, Chavez Ravine, you got to go with the home team, I think. So I'll take the Dodgers here. The over-under, as you said, is 8.5. I lean under in this. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Oh, I'm hoping we get some fireworks in a couple of these games, George. I love betting those player props. We know a lot of these players have been able to cash for us with those home runs in the last round, which is kind of surprising to me in the baseball playoffs. We're expecting a lot more defense in a lot of these cases, but some big bats in this series between these two. If you guys are looking at straight up winners for the World Series, the Yankees coming in at +104 and the Dodgers at -122. George, we got a couple minutes. Let's quickly touch on tonight's hockey matchup. We have the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs, the only game out there on the ice. Do you have a side that you're leaning on? The Leafs, of course, at home, the favorite at -137 here. The total sitting at 6.5.
Yeah, right. Tampa Bay's playing, actually both teams got off to a decent start here. Berube, I think, has done a good job with Toronto. They're playing more defense. Now, that also could be because they have better defensemen here. All right, they finally have defensive players. Austin Matthews, Nylander, Marner, and company. They're not scoring like we think they should here. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the under at -108 here. I'm going to take the Toronto, once again, plus money. This is not going to be big bets either way here, but this is the first game of the night here. It's on about a half hour before NFL starts. Under and the name.
Okay, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in the next couple minutes here on the grid.
despite being at home in the land, we're a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, guys?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Happy Monday, everyone. Joe Madden here of SportsGrid. Welcome back to Game Time Decisions. Myself and George Kurtz. We've broken down tonight's action out there. We're going to talk more about props in a couple of minutes. But George, I wanted to quickly talk about what we saw out there yesterday in Sunday football. We had some incredible games, and I'm really eating my words over Russell Wilson. I still can't believe that Russ and the Steelers came out, even though they were at home, and got the win over the New York Jets. Scott Wetzel came at me with a crazy stat of the Jets after playing the Buffalo Bills, and I laughed and said, come on, there's no way the Jets aren't going to come out and just dominate over Russ and the Steelers. So eating my words a little bit, what did you think of last night's Sunday football game?
Yeah, I don't think you can feel bad about the Jet game last night. Nobody had much faith in Russell Wilson. All right. And by the way, it's a coincidence that Joe and I are wearing green today. This wasn't meant for me a Jet thing tonight. But like I said, there is nobody who thought Russell Wilson was going to do what he did last night, or that the Jets would play as poorly as they did last night. We all thought Tomlin made a mistake, right? Why would you switch up from a quarterback who was 4-2? How can you do that? You know, I thought my favorite meme from last week was, Tomlin was just annoyed that they're getting above 500 too much, right? Yeah, because they're always 9-8, or they're always 8-8. So I thought that was very funny. But hey, Mike Tomlin just might know more about football than we do. He just might. And Russ came out, and you saw what he does. He throws a nice deep ball, it's not always I wouldn't say it's always should be thrown, because a lot of those passes he threw last night, the guy was covered, but he gives his player a chance to go up and catch it. And George Pickens did. All right, made some great plays last night. So listen, Pittsburgh won it. I think the Jets lost it as well. They made some mistakes again. I mentioned earlier in the show about that interception that bounced off Garrett Wilson. That's got to be caught, right? That's a big play there. The momentum totally. You sort of felt all the air go out of the Jets' balloon after the interception. All right, and that was really all she wrote. The Jets never got it back after that. So we'll see on the Jets here. They're 2-5. I don't think their season's over, Joe. I wouldn't bet on it. I talked to her earlier with Ben Stevens on Football Full Circle. I don't think their season's over, but they're only about plus 246 or plus 270. I forget what the number was to make the playoffs. At 2-5, that's an incredibly. It's not a good enough number. I don't think I would need 4-1, 5-1 to bet on the Jets to make the playoffs right now. They do play New England this week, and their schedule is soft. All right, it's not the hardest schedule here. The problem is they have very little room for error from here on out.
Oh, they absolutely are. And as someone who took their win total to the over, I'm just feeling sick about it. They've got to get the win next week, and they've got to continue to roll. Now, for them to win the AFC It's coming in at plus 3,100. They would need an absolute miracle to break past the Kansas City Chiefs, who are the top favorite at plus 200. But we did see exciting games out there that came down there to the wire, not like the Steelers and the Jets, who it was a 37-15 win for the Steelers. We saw the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings in a game that ended right at the buzzer with the field goal coming there for the Detroit Lions, winning it 31-29. We know the Vikings had a mixed extra 2-point conversion at the end of their drive before. George, this was a fantastic matchup. What did you think between these two?
Yeah, it was a fun game here. You got to hand it to Dan Campbell, right? Now, he's crazy as a coach, but he's not afraid. Right on the first drive, they do the fake punt, the fake speed punt there, and they tried that. Didn't work, and it didn't matter. You figured out. Jared Goff is a much better quarterback than we really give him credit for. And right now, he probably is your favorite for MVP. I mentioned that earlier in the show. I think Baker's close, but Jared Goff's getting all the love here because of how well the Lions are playing. And let's face it, the Lions right now are your favorite for the Super Bowl. I don't know about to win it, but they're the favorite to get there from the NFC right at this moment here. I do think eventually they're going to miss Aiden Hutchinson. And listen, yesterday may have been a part of it. Minnesota did score 29 points. I understand 6 of it or 7 of it was on the scoop and score there after the David Montgomery fumble here. But it's hard not to like the Lions the way they're playing. They can beat you through the air. They can beat you on the ground. All right, so good for them for what they're doing here. As for Minnesota, I still have my doubts about Sam Darnold. All right, it's hard not to get. He played. His numbers look pretty good, but if you watch the game, and I did because it's the game of the day in my opinion. He made some, that has to be completed, Sam. What were you seeing there? I know, I think it was Bill Barnwell of ESPN broke down how there was a pass to Aaron Jones where he looked at Aaron Jones, didn't throw the ball, and Aaron Jones, he's gone. It's a 70-yard touchdown. There's nobody there. He looked at, didn't throw him, and he tried to complete a pass to Jordan Addison that was intercepted by Brian Branch at that time. So I don't trust Sam Darnold. I just wonder, Joe, is he going to turn back into a pumpkin? Because we've seen this before from him, where he's had a good first 4 or 5 games, and then poof, it all went away. So he's not quite convincing me yet. Not that the loss was his fault yesterday. I wouldn't blame it on him, but I think he could have played better or made better decisions here. That being said, Minnesota plays the Rams Thursday night. I think they get right again.
I think he almost questions himself a little bit out there on the field, and he should have made that pass yesterday. I hear you on that, George, but I do think we're going to see success out of Sam Darnold for the rest of the season. I love the coaching position he is being put in, and I do think with strong coaching, we can see him continue to play this way. Now, when we look at the NFC, like you said, the Detroit Lions are the favorite. They're coming in at plus 370 to win the NFC, and the Minnesota Vikings are below the San Francisco 49ers, who are coming in at plus 470, and the Vikings at plus 700, tied with the Green Bay Packers. The 49ers, hard loss again versus the Kansas City Chiefs last night. That game, they just never looked in it. This team is facing so many injuries. Do you think the 49ers have any chance of taking the NFC? And I know you're going to say, yes, there is a chance, but what's the but?
There's always a team or teams that they're the voodoo team. All right, they're the team that someone's got the doll, someone's got the pincushion. We found out now about 2 hours ago that Brandon Ayuk is done. All right, tore his ACL, tore his MCL, he's toast. So we won't see him till next year. We don't know when McCaffrey's coming back. All right, or if. I think he is. I would say somewhere in November. But maybe yes, maybe no. Debo missed most of that game yesterday because he had W. He didn't feel well. I make fun of it, but, it's legit. It happens. Jawan Jennings missed that game yesterday, right? He has the injury. This is a really banged-up team. They're banged up on defense as well. And this defense, by the way, has 2 players. All right? And they're great players. They're Hall of Famers. Bosa and Warner, but that's really all they have here. It's not that lockdown D. What I'm trying to say is they can't win a game just because, we'll lock them down on D and we'll win 17-14, 17-13. No, they're going to need help from the offense here. I'm not going to listen. Purdy didn't have a good game yesterday, but hey, if you got no one, your top 3 receivers are out. You're not going to have a good game. Nobody is here. Can they make the playoffs? Sure. I think they can get in the playoffs. They play Dallas Sunday night in San Fran. I think they'll win the game. But do I think they're a threat? No. They're not better than Detroit. I don't think they're better than Green Bay, and I don't think they're better than Minnesota. Right, Minnesota already beat them, right? So no, I don't think, not at this moment. Maybe they make a big trade. Joe, have a deadline November 6th, by the way. But no, are they a Super Bowl threat? Not in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't even know if they're better than the Philadelphia Eagles right now, George, to be honest with you. And the Eagles coming in for the NFC to win it at plus 750. Now, two teams we didn't touch on. You just mentioned the Green Bay Packers. This game yesterday, they were able to get the win over the Texans. That was a 24-22 win. Another game that came right down to the wire. We had Jordan Love versus CJ Stroud in a game that first half was so explosive. We saw those points. That second half really quieted down. What do you think of that one?
I mean, let's look at Jordan Love first, right? He's got to stop throwing the interceptions. All right, you got to stop doing this. You won the game, great. CJ Stroud did not play all that well. We did 86 yards passing. I mean, wow! I would have lost everything I owned if you would have told me that. But no way, it's 86 yards, and he didn't get hurt. He played the entire game. You're kidding. All right, but I think we're starting to see that Nico Collins, that loss, is hurting the Texans here. So maybe we got to calm down their expectations till he comes back here. Mixon had a great game. Love, stop giving the ball up, and the Packers are as good a team as anybody else.
They absolutely are. So current Super Bowl odds, everyone, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs at plus 450, the Baltimore Ravens at plus 700, the 49ers at plus 850, and those Detroit Lions at plus 850. We'll be back in the next couple moments.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best two ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome back to Game Time Decisions over on the grid. Myself, Joe Madden, joined by George Kurtz till the top of the hour here with you. We are talking Monday Night Football, George, and we didn't get into any of these player props between the LA Chargers and the Arizona Cardinals. And I do think, even though we're expecting a lower scoring game, there is a couple opportunities to look at some of these players, especially when we look at the Chargers and those rushing props. But first, let's get into the quarterbacks. Let's look at their numbers and see if there's any opportunities to make some money. So for the LA Chargers, Justin Herbert coming out here, he's got a passing prop of 199.5, and we know the Chargers have been able to get the win with him not having to use his arm that very much. He's got a prop of over 1.5 passing touchdowns, with the over coming in at plus 144 and the under at minus 190. Rushing yards for Justin Herbert at 10.5, and to throw that interception at plus 116. He's thrown those interceptions, George, out there. I know you like those interception props. Is there anything you're liking for Justin Herbert tonight?
Now, he's not on the injury report, so the ankle is healed. So I did give a look to the rushing prop. My problem is twofold. One, they may have told him, no, I don't care if your ankle, stay in the pocket, don't run. They may have told him that. You don't know that for sure. And Arizona doesn't have a great pass rush, so he may not need to escape the pocket. Bottom line is, I'm not taking any Herbert props. All right, he's only reached the 199 once this year. It was the last game against Denver, surprisingly, the defense they have here. But I'm going to leave Herbert alone here. I think my favorite prop of the night is going to be, it's not a parlay, but I'm going to take Connor and Dobbins both to get the first touchdown of the game. I know only one of them can get it, but I'm getting great odds on it. As long as one of them hits, I win good money here. All right, one was plus 550. I think one was 440 last I checked. 500 and 440. Connor was 500. Dobbins was 440. So as long as one of them runs in the first touchdown, I'm getting very good odds and I'll win money. And I tend to do this a lot, by the way. I do it more in baseball with the anytime home run, where I may play 4 players to hit home run. I call it covering the board. If I take 4 players, bet the same amount on each, I only need to hit 2 of them and I win money. So I only need to hit one of these and I win money here. So I'm going to do that. Dobbins plus 440 for a first-time touchdown. Connor plus 500 first touchdown of the game. If you want to go anytime, it's just not there. Minus 130 plus 105, which is why I want to go with the first touchdown.
I like where you're going with that. I do think Dobbins can get in the end zone. I think that is a perfect bet that you're riding with there. I've also looked at ulting his numbers. I do think you're right with the Chargers looking to own time of possession. And he's already got 438 rushing yards on the season. He's looking like the old LT days where the Chargers were able to have that strong, dominant running back out there. And we know that's what Jim Harbaugh wants to play. So I'm looking at some of his props right now, George. I'm going to ult his number, but right now he has a rushing prop of 79.5. He's only hit 100 once. That was back in week 2. But I know if you take it for 125 plus, when you're looking at the Cardinals defense, this defense is 4th worst against the run. So over 79.5 at minus 113, but I think you can sprinkle a little bit on the 125 plus. That's coming in at plus 410. If you just take it to the 100 point, it's about 2-1 to your money. His rushing attempts, he's off a high for those rushing attempts in the last game. Tonight's number is 17.5. His anytime touchdown at minus 135. And when you talk about James Conner, I like where you're going with him as well. He has a rushing yard prop here of 81.5, a rush attempts of 14.5. Do you think, I know you're taking for the touchdown, but James Conner, are you looking at his rushing yards as well?
I'm staring at it right now. I haven't clicked it yet, but I'm staring at it right now. You made it 61.5 minus 110. Of course, I lean towards the over here. I certainly think he's got the touchdown guy there. They run in a lot of touchdowns with him. The Chargers don't have a legitimate defense. But the reason why I'm going to like this prop anyway, I am going to take it, just not make a big bet as maybe I normally would, is I don't see this game getting away from the Cardinals. Right? I don't see it being 21-3 Chargers in the middle of the second quarter. Oh, God, they got to throw the ball the rest of the game. They're not going to run the ball ever. I think it's going to be a closer game. I keep saying it over and over again. I think it's going to be a closer game into the fourth quarter here, so I'm not worried about a blowout. So both teams will run their game script. Will be the normal game script. They'll run as much as they pass. They'll do it that way here. And by the way, talking about the Chargers, can I interest you in a little Kamani Vidal rushing prop here? It's only 18.5. I mean, he was good last week. Dobbins is not getting every carry. All right, they're going to need to give him a rest here and there. I kind of like the 18.5 of $1. So also minus 110, the same price as everybody else on this list. So I'm going to go with Dobbins. All right, and I have 81.5, by the way, so I actually went up 2 yards, or we have different numbers here, so that's unfortunate. I'm going to take Dobbins. All right, these are all overs, by the way. Dobbins, Connor, and Kamani Vidal, all over their rushing props.
Okay, there's our rushing props. What about the wide receiver reception props out here? We know we've got a great receiver here for the Arizona Cardinals in Marvin Harrison Jr. He's been phenomenal with his hands, but Ladd McConkey, the pickup for the Chargers, has been a nice target out there for Justin Herbert. Could either of these players get in the end zone, or are you looking at any of their receiving props? We do have McConkey coming in at 51.5 for his total. His receptions sitting at 4.5 and that longest at 19.5. I would be leaning to the longest when I'm looking at him, but Marvin Harrison Jr., he's coming in at 53.5. It looks light to me, George. 4.5 for his reception and his longest coming in at 21.5.
I think we need to be careful with Harrison. There's a lot of publicity about this guy. Oh, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. Number one wide receiver taken in the draft, blah, 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 blah. He only has, 17 catches on the season? All right, that's all he has. 17 catches on the season. 4 of them are touchdowns. All right, now he's coming back off the concussion. He's fine. He passed it. He's good to go here. But, his last 2 games, 2 catches, 36 yards. He just hasn't done all that much. So I'm going to, and like I said, the Chargers defense is good. This is not a bad defense here. I don't see Harrison. Listen, could we get lucky with the touchdown? Of course we could. The touchdowns are finicky here. I probably like McConkey a little bit more because I think it's the normal situation there. I don't love either one though. Like I said, game script to me tells me it's going to be more of a running game here. It's not going to get out of hand. It's not going to be a ton of passes in this game. I am more on the rushing props than I am on the passing props. Just like in the first game, I'm the exact opposite. More on the passing props than I am on the rushing props.
I'm with you on that, George. If anyone wants to look at Ladd, he's coming in at plus 210 for that anytime touchdown. And we do see Harrison Jr. at plus 155. Dobbins coming in at minus 135 and Connor at minus 105. But you guys will be back in the next couple of minutes to go over our best bets in tonight's Monday Night Football game.
Guardians, despite being at home in the land, were a home underdog against Tarek Skubal. Enter Lane Thomas, maybe one of the under-the-radar trade deadline acquisitions being dealt from the Nationals. He was huge in the ALDS.
A heavy favorite for the New York Yankees in the series. You're going to look to their best 2 ball players to be those MVPs. That's Juan Soto and it's Aaron Judge.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, guys?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Game Time Decisions, you guys. I'm Joe Madden, joined by George Kurtz. We're wrapping up the show here. George, I want to get to our best bets in Monday Night Football, our best bets on the ice. Let's start with Monday Night Football. The Baltimore Ravens taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, those odds, the Ravens are the favorite, laying 4.5 currently, total of 51.5. George, where are you going for your best bets?
All right, best bet as far as the game itself will be, I'm going to hit the over. I think it's my favorite bet as far as that's concerned. I think the Ravens probably do win this game, but I think Tampa's got a pretty good chance of covering this, but I wouldn't consider it a best bet here. In the game itself, I think my best bet is going to be Mayfield over two plus touchdowns. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game, and I can't see how he's not throwing 2+ touchdowns. Maybe we get unlucky, and Evans keeps going out the 1 yard line here, but 2+ touchdowns from Mayfield, Evans anytime touchdown.
Okay, I like where you're going. I'm going to go with Lamar for over on his rushing and passing prop. That number coming in at 290.5 for my best bet, as well as alting his rushing yards. I think he can hit 60+. That's coming in at plus 134. And I think I'm going to put a sprinkle on 70+ rushing yards. I know Derrick Henry is going to get a lot of the workload. They don't love to see Lamar run, but I think he has to in a couple of situations in this game. And 70+ really isn't asking that much for Lamar. He's coming in at plus 210, but again, just a sprinkle. When we turn over to the game between the LA Chargers and the Arizona Cardinals, again, those odds, the Chargers, the favorite on the road at -1.5 on that spread, and a total of 44.5. George, you sticking with that under as your best bet?
As my best bet? No, but it is a bet. All right, I don't think we get a high scoring game. My best bet's going to be what I said before. I think Connor, anytime touchdown. I like Dobbs anytime touchdown as also here, but I like them just one to get the first touchdown here. And the more I think about it, the more I'm liking the Vamani Badal. I mean, 18.5 yards. It could be one rush. Dobbs is not carrying the ball every carry here, but Badal's going to get his chances here. So I'm going to like that over 18.5 yards as well. Lower scoring game. I don't think it's going to be quite as exciting as the first game here, which means I'll probably be wrong. And this game will be 90-80, and the other game will be 2-0.
Okay, so one thing, could I convince you of a higher scoring first half, though, George? Because the first half total is sitting at 22.5. We know the Arizona Cardinals in the first half of these games have been giving up the points left, right, and center. They've been coming alive in the second half. They've also struggled to put up the points themselves in the first half. So I am riding with the Chargers in the first half over 10.5 points and straight up on the money line at -118. But do you think there's a way that we have a higher scoring first half like we saw between the Packers and the Texans yesterday and things slow off in the second?
I think it's hard for that because the Chargers are not that kind of offense. That being said, Arizona can make mistakes. I think if you want to take that over, I think you need Arizona to make mistakes here and give the Chargers a short field here. One bet that I'm going to play, I just thought of now, is going to be the first score of the game to be a field goal. You know, because I think the Chargers can drive down there but could bog down. It's almost like I feel the Chargers are going to score first, get a 3-0 lead here. That's all what I feel is going to happen. So I'm probably going to have that bet, first score to be a field.
Okay, I like where you're going there. I'm going to be up big on J.K. Dobbins here. I think that he absolutely goes off in this game. I'm going to take him over the 79 or 81.5, depending on what that number is. I would hit on it live right now, you guys, because I've also olded him to 100+ and 125+, with that 125+ coming in at almost 4-1 to your money. I think he has a great day out there with his legs. And like George said, that game script here for the Chargers has to be eat up the clock, own that time of possession, and get him moving. Now, when we look at the ice, George, the one game on the ice, the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Toronto Maple Leafs, these lines are constant from what we saw earlier at -137 here for the Leafs, +114 for the Tampa Bay Lightning, that total of 6.5. Do you have a goal scorer or a best bet in this one for us?
Yeah, I'm going to bet on Kucherov the goal scorer. You convinced me on him to be the first goal scorer. I'm going to bet both, by the way, just to have a little fun here. So Kucherov to be the first goal scorer. Kucherov anytime goal here. I am on the under here, under 6.5, and Tampa Bay will make Casey Hudson happy. We'll take the Ning to win the game.
Look at you. I love that you're going with the Lightning. I'm with you with the Lightning, but I do think Austin Matthews is going to have success out here for the Toronto Maple Leafs. His anytime goal is too juicy for me at -125. I do think he can score in the first period, George. He's also coming in at +400, but I do think higher scoring first period, 2-1, 3-2, style first period, and then things slow down. So I'm going to hit on him as well. But George, It's been an absolute pleasure. I want to wish you all the best in Monday Night Football and on the ice tonight.
I feel the same way for you. Good luck to your Chargers tonight. Maybe not too good since I'm on Arizona, but it's a small bet. So I'll still root for the Chargers for you.
Sounds good, you guys. Thanks so much for joining us over here on Game Time Decisions. Don't go anywhere. Casey Hudson will be taking it over after the break.